weeks ago, I shared a video on how I hard reset my life with slow living, and the response blew me away. So many of you resonated deeply with this feeling of being caught in a cycle of burnout. In today's video, I want to share the steps that I took during my first month of minimalism and pursuing a simpler life. Small changes that made big impacts, especially right away. To preface this, I don't think this is a process that you can or should try to rush. And if a timeline feels stressful or uninviting, please don't use one. I wanted to make this video not to pressure you, to offer a framework that I found incredibly useful. If you haven't already, before you start, I highly recommend doing a time audit. Over the course of a week, keep a record of how you spend your time. Don't try to be on your best behavior or build new habits. Just live like you normally would. I actually did this in a vlog series over the summer, and it was incredibly eye-opening. As it turned out, a lot of the things that I genuinely thought I was prioritizing in my life, I was not. And while that was a very uncomfortable thing to process and come to terms with, I'm so grateful I did it, because otherwise I'm not sure if I would have realized how different my perception was from the reality. At the end of a week, examine the habits, hobbies, relationships, screen time that filled up your week. Maybe things are exactly where you want them, but for the sake of this video, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that somewhere in there things probably feel a little bit out of alignment. This is where we get into the art of decluttering, which is about so much more than getting rid of expired food or clothes that no longer fit you. Decluttering your life starts with seeing clutter for what it actually is, looking at your life clearly, and then asking questions about what's truly worth it. Clear out one area of your house. When it comes to your physical space, decluttering can feel kind of overwhelming. I think there's a huge benefit to starting with one area and designating that as a clutter-free, safe space. Over the course of the next month, prioritize keeping this area of your house clean for your brain and soul to rest. As you're starting to go through other areas and adapt to new habits and a way of life, sometimes things go through the worse before they get better stage. And even if it doesn't, it might feel like it just because you're starting to notice the clutter around you a lot more. By preserving a safe space, you'll always have an area to recharge, rest your mind, and come to a place of peace before getting back to it. Cancel plans or eliminate unnecessary commitments. Decluttering your life is about so much more than just a minimalist aesthetic or even what you own at all. It's about living a life that doesn't drain you. At the beginning of this process, I found myself in such a heavy space of burnout that it was hard to honestly reflect on all the different areas of my life and relationships and how they were affecting me. While I know it's not realistic to take a month off of everything, use this 30-day period to take a step back from as much as you can. Create more margin than you think you need to rest, recover, and reflect on what you actually miss doing in your day-to-day life. The first half of the month is probably mostly going to be recovery, but hopefully by the end of it, you'll be ready and excited to step back into some of those areas. If you're a regular viewer of my channel, you won't be surprised to see Project 333 on this list. The goal of this month is to simplify, declutter, and increase margin. And there's no better way to start than by eliminating unnecessary decision-making and clutter. I won't go into too much detail as I do have other videos up about Project 333, but it's kind of an introductory capsule wardrobe which involves choosing pieces from the collection of clothing that you already have and wearing only those things for 3 months. This is a great way to test out a more minimal closet without committing to a full capsule. You can box up all of your other clothes, set them aside, and at the end of those 3 months, you'll be able to go through those clothes with fresh eyes and see what actually feels like it's worth keeping. Probably the single most impactful thing I did in my first month of minimalism was a digital detox. In his book, Digital Minimalism, Cal Newport emphasizes the importance of taking a full 30 days away from the unnecessary technology that fills so much of our daily lives. This time frame allows you to go through withdrawal, find alternatives, and experience what life feels like without constant distractions in your pocket. I was really surprised to see what I actually missed during this month, and even more surprised by the things I found I didn't miss. I'd been giving huge amounts of my time, attention, and energy to platforms that I thought I was getting a lot of value from, but in their absence, I started to realize how much those things had become unhealthy coping mechanisms for me. Fillers for a lack of high-quality hobbies in my life. I'm gonna be filming a video entirely about my digital detox experience, the rules I set, everything that I learned. I highly encourage you to test out this process. It is so worth it. Journal and make space for reflection. As you go throughout the month, it's essential that you stop to check in with yourself. Are there times where you feel a stronger pull or temptation to slip into old habits? Are there things you're noticing that you didn't before? As you prepare to reintegrate towards the end of the month and are considering the areas, habits, and relationships to maintain, ask yourself this: what in your life takes away more value than it offers? Decluttering can be a lot, and while I certainly believe that minimalism has countless advantages, trying to go through your whole house at once is probably not the best way to go. Decision making is a resource that we actually burn through during the day. If you've ever heard the term decision fatigue, it is a very real thing. So be mindful of how you use this. I think shooting for 2 to 3 areas of your house a week is a great start. An area could be your entire bathroom, or it could be one cupboard or drawer. Work at a pace that feels sustainable and enjoy the progress that you're making. Start paying attention to what you have and don't use. A natural effect that will take place this month, but also something to pay intentional care to, are the things you have and don't use. Whether it's functional appliances like an Instant Pot or a blender that are just sitting on the shelf not getting used, or decor pieces that might be adding more clutter than they are comfort, notice these things. Some of them you might look at and immediately decide to get rid of, and others you might want to sit with for a couple of weeks. Start paying attention to what your soul is craving. This idea of paying attention is so important, and I think it's really a heartbeat of slow living. Noticing, living, being present in small moments. What is your soul telling you it needs? When I tune in, I find that my instincts and my intuition are usually pretty good. I can figure out what I'm craving, whether it's social rest, solitude, sleep, a good book, or a chat with a friend. But those cues are things I ignored for so long because I kept telling myself that literally everything else was more important than taking care of myself. I will say, while this first month was a lot of doing very little, since making this change to a slower pace of life, I'm actually far more productive. I'm engaged with life, I'm a much better version of myself, and by starting with the things that mattered the most to me, I'm able to take more breaks, follow through on my commitments, and just find a lot more balance. Finally, last but not least, this month, get more sleep. This is one of those things where it's just kind of, if you know, you know. Since going to bed earlier, experiencing what a full night's rest does for you, I have become so fiercely protective of my sleep schedule because getting enough rest is one of the biggest contributors to my overall ability to show up in life. I always do want to throw in the caveat with this one that, of course, this depends a little bit on your stage of life. If you have young kids, your control over your sleep schedule is going to be very different than mine, and I do totally get that. Changing your life takes time, especially when you're shifting the total pace of how you live your days. This 30-day start became the launching pad for what has been the most beautiful chapter of my life. These changes produced an immediate impact and helped me experience the benefits of slow living to help me become the kind of person who loved it. I'm so thankful for what this change has done for me, and I really believe it can do the same for you. I would love to know where you're at with slow living, if this is something that you are implementing in your life, if you've tried any of these things, what those did for you, or if you have any tips that worked for you that you'd like to share with me or maybe someone else who's looking to try slow living. I'd love to hear other perspectives as well. I really appreciate you guys being here, and I so hope this video was helpful in some way. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and leave a comment. It really helps my channel and it means the absolute world to me. I hope you have a good day because today is a good day to have a good day. And that's it. Bye.